Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. We hope you have dug yourself out of whatever inches of snow that you got wherever you live. Although lately, Adam, we've been getting so much interaction from our international friends that I'm starting to wonder if we're more internationally known than regionally known. But nonetheless.
Have you checked the analytics? I haven't looked lately from outside the States. Yeah.
We're a big hit in Madagascar, I tell you that.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Duly noted.
Yeah, definitely. So so let me thank everybody. We got too many names actually from people from different countries that reached out to us from everywhere you could imagine. So big shout out to everybody who did that. We really appreciate those who are listening overseas. Love the fact that you're dialed into what the Eagles are doing and you're listening to our podcast. So, and as for those who live in the Delaware Valley or around, hope you had a nice snow blower or a shovel. How much did you get, Adam?
We got 8 inches of snow, we think. Yeah. Well, here's what happened. As you know, Geoff, we had freeze of rain or sleet, whatever you want to call it, on Monday for 5 or 6 hours, and it compacted. It just made it heavy. Yes. So the wife, when I was doing radio on Tuesday, she had the snowblower going on. 20 minutes she's done. I'm like, how did you do that? She goes, that's why we spent the money on the snowblower.
Well, hold up now. I used my snowblower, my brand new 3-year-old snowblower, because it had never been used.
Ours about 3 years,
for the first time. And you must have because we'd never had snow since I got it.
We had snow 6
but not
weeks
in Jersey. I swear, my town should be nicknamed the rain snow line, because whenever you guys get the snow and then they show that rain snow line, we're always on the other end.
What did you get? What did you guys get? Snow-wise?
Well, as far as this past snowstorm, we did get 8 inches. So it was real. But the last time when you guys got like 5, 6, or 7, like 3 weeks ago, we got nothing. So this was the first time for me in 3 years to use the snowblower. And that sheet of ice that you were talking about was an issue for me, because I have this it's got the cord and everything. It was brand new because I never used it, but the clump of snow kept getting stuck in the chute because it was icy. And then you got to go over the same row like 3 times to kind of break it up and then get it out of there.
But so what happened was, to finish this off, just to, if for someone who's looking to get a snowblower, it's worth the investment, because think about it. I remember the last time we had a shovel, you've been to our house before. We have a long driveway.
Yes, you do.
It would take us 2 hours, my wife and I. Okay. I don't want to, it's not worth it. So, but here's the problem. If it doesn't snow enough, it's not worth the investment. So we don't get the snow like we used to, but we've got 2 snowfalls. We didn't use it last year, but the year that we got it, you and I must have got it around the same time.
Yeah.
They run it. If you want to get a really good one, they're $1,000 to $1,200. Of course, I hem and hawed over it. I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of paying these kids not to show up. You pay the neighborhood kids and they don't show up. So that was enough of that. And so it was worth it, because if you could get a 2-hour job done in 20 minutes, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like you said, Caplan Manor got a really long driveway there, so you need to have that high-powered snowblower. I got a regular old driveway, so I get the cheap one.
You have a circle, right? Don't you have a circle?
Driveway? I got a regular, I guess, rectangular.
I can't remember.
Square.
Yeah, but
that's my other estate. You must have been.
You're right. Yeah, stately Jeffrey Manor.
That's right.
But look, we're on Wednesday now, so we've got some updates on the coaching, a couple things that aren't out there, which we'll update, and we really appreciate all the comments. Our traffic is through the roof, man. We were joking. We want Nick Sirianni to do well. We're not cheering against him. But man, these coaching searches are great for business. What could I tell you?
Yeah, I mean, if they could fire the coach every year, it would be great for Inside the Birds. Not so good for Eagles fans, but
no, we're not. We wish him well. Seems like a good guy. Yeah,
definitely. So as you mentioned, it's a Wednesday pod. This is going to be the last Wednesday pod until we start up the regular season sometime in August or September. We're going to switch into Monday, Thursday mode after this week. So of course, we'll still have our Friday pod out this week, but after that, we'll then drop on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 a.m. And they will be meaty pods, because we'll only be doing 2 a week. But we'll get into draft mode. We'll get into team review from last year. We're going to do our roster review series where we kind of give you the position by position. We'll get you what the team is thinking about each position and what they want to do moving forward, like we did last year. they were a big hit. So let's start this off, Adam, with something different because you have some injury news that you thought would be a good way to start this off on Lane Johnson, which it's a great.
Yeah, I knew about this 2 weeks ago and I totally forgot about it because we're so hyper focused on the coaching stuff. So total with Lane Johnson doing great. He's either off the scooter the motorized scooter, or he's very close to ditching it. And he feels, someone who would know, said that he feels great, like the ankle feels like new. You know how what was the term that he used? It was
tightrope surgery.
No.
But he said it collapsed, right?
Yes, it feels great. They did great with it. He's feeling great. He thinks it's going to be like new. I don't think he's just being optimistic. I think this is just the way he feels. So that's good news. So not that it's huge news, but it's advancing where he was at. Because when he said it needed to be rebuilt, his ankle, I've never heard that before. I was like, what the hell?
I've never heard of an ankle collapsing.
Exactly.
That made me grimace when he
right. And I was like, wow, I hope he's going to be ready by the spring. So it sounds like he's got a real chance to be ready for OTAs. Assuming there are going to be, at least do something in the spring. So that's good.
Well, I think when you look back on 2020 and everything that went wrong, specifically from an offensive standpoint, we point to the offensive line, and we had a lot of conversations about, left tackle, what was going on there with Jason Peters and right guard and not having Brandon Brooks. But certainly Lane Johnson not being the Lane Johnson and being hurt, going all the way back to the summer, and then having the tightrope surgery. And not, I guess, you remember how he was saying that he couldn't really loosen it up. And so he had to come out of a lot of games. I mean,
he came back early, man.
That was a disastrous season for him.
Yeah, and I know he's trying to do right by his teammates and be there for him. I get it, and we have a lot of respect for Lane, but he came back too early with that tightrope surgery. Tua had it. Jalen Hurts had it. It's a common surgery now to get guys back earlier to come back in season, and sometimes when you get them ready for a ball game, and maybe they wouldn't play ordinarily because your run-of-the-mill ankle surgery is going to be at 2 to 3 months. Mm-hmm. And to come back in less than 3 weeks is ridiculous. So, I know some guys have come back from it, but hey, listen, it is what it is. I'm glad he's doing well.
Yeah, it is good news. And again, if you're trying to shake off all the bad from 2020, if his progress is good and he's going to be your starting right tackle and he's going to be there for the camps, well, I don't know about the camps, but at least training camp would be good to know. Preseason, if there is one, then I think that's a really good start. I mean,
trending well right now. It's trending well at this, based on what I know.
You think this offensive line is going to be remade a little bit? I would think. I mean, it's going to look a lot different.
Well, we're going to have a new left tackle, that's for sure. Whether it's Mailata or Dillard, Lane's back at right tackle. Seumalo's back at left guard. Mm-hmm. Right guard is Brandon Brooks. They owe him $10 million fully guaranteed, which we reported last March. That there was simply, even this before he suffered his Achilles, we said, well, at least we now know that he's going to be back in 21, and here we are. Now, Jason Kelce, we'll see. I've heard that Jason, was undecided what he's going to do. This is typically what he does. He takes a couple weeks off after the season, and we'll see. And that will obviously really set their offseason off if he's not back. Whether he retires or they don't want him back or whatever, I don't know yet where they stand. But if he's not back, it's either Isaac Seumalo or you would think they would draft somebody.
Maybe Jack Driscoll, a lot of different options there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Maybe even Herbig if they think he develops well enough at center. I just get the feeling, this is just my sense, I'm not reporting anything, I haven't been told anything. I get the feeling that it's not going to be Seumalo left guard, Kelce center, Brandon Brooks right guard. I just feel like you're not going to get 3 of 3 there.
That's you in terms of Isaac we know is starting wherever he lines up.
Yes.
Brooks, they're not walking away from $10 million. I mean,
can they trade him though?
The thing is, he's come back from a torn Achilles. I know that he's doing well. Look, he practiced week 17.
Why do you think they did that?
I know. Listen, maybe that's part of it. But here's the question, though. Brandon's injury history, we know it's been up there in recent years, Mm-hmm. So being that the last 2 seasons ended in injury, what? Well, he got hurt and he tore the Achilles. What was the injury last year? Forget.
It was the Achilles, right? He came back from an Achilles.
No. But I'm talking about he got hurt in 19 as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they were both Achilles, were they not?
Did he?
Because he made really quick returns from both.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he is 30. He turns 32 in August. I just don't see the guy's healthy now. You see his videos. He's in unbelievable physical shape. Mm-hmm. Draft his eventual replacement. To me, Geoff, this draft is all about replacements for the younger players. Get this done. Lane Johnson, great football player, getting older. There's nothing wrong. I'm not talking about first round pick, but Lane is older now. He's he's 30 now. Time to start. You don't want to wait till it's too late.
I'm with you.
To me, right?
Yeah, and this team has done, I think, a good job of drafting offensive linemen, bringing them in.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Mailata, getting Dillard last year, we'll see what happens with him. Drafting Jack Driscoll, who actually looked pretty good. So I think they do. This is one of their strengths, I think, is bringing in offensive linemen. So we'll see. But I just get the sense that you're not, for whatever. It could be Kelsey. It's not going to be Sayamalo. I agree with you. He's going to be back and starting. We just don't know exactly what position, but I just don't think you're going to get all three across the board 100% the way it's been when everybody's healthy. So we'll see.
Shall see. Yeah,
we shall see. Yeah. All right, we'll get into some coaching news first. As we tell everybody, go check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com as they are enhancing the fan experience with their great content and coverage of all the professional Philadelphia sports teams. They do it better than anybody else does. They are for the fan, by the fan. Make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com. Visit them on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Let's pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, Adam, let's get this probably will be not the last time, but I think we're going to pretty much, move away from the coaching staff search pretty soon, as most of these jobs are filled.
Only one left.
Yeah. Only one left.
Well, big role, only one left. Yeah.
And that's running backs coach.
Correct.
What do you got on that? Anything?
I do. We'll get to that in a second, but let's get to the coaching news in terms of a guy that I am very surprised is not going to be back is Matt Burke. I am stunned is not the word, but I am very surprised. I don't quite understand this, Geoff. I was told earlier this week, he's not coming back. Could you answer this for me? Let's look at this. Why would you not make him the linebackers coach? I understand that they filled it. Why wouldn't you want a guy as a former D coordinator who's older? They need older guys on the staff. This is a very young defensive staff. Why wouldn't they just move him to linebackers, which he's coached before?
I don't know. And it almost seems exacerbated by the fact that the guy that they did make their linebackers coach, his name is Nick Sirianni, I believe. Is that the
Sirianni? Yeah.
He has never been. I mean, you're talking about Matt Burke was once a defensive coordinator. Rollins has never even been he's been an assistant position coach. He's never been a linebackers coach. That means he's never led a room, right? I mean, how often do we talk about the wide receiver carousel? And you've got a room of wide receivers. You need a leader, and you go with a guy either in Gunter Brewer, who's never coached in the NFL before, or a Carson Walsh, who was an assistant and didn't really have a lot of clout. And now you have linebacker, which is not a position that has developed very well lately for the Eagles, except for Alex Singleton. Ken Flagel is gone, and they've got a bunch of young guys. And I just feel like Matt Burke would have been perfect. He is a linebackers coach by pedigree. He was not a defensive line coach by pedigree. He just did it last year. That was his specialty. Why wouldn't you make a concerted effort to try to keep him? I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so per NJ.com, it's Nick Sirianni, who's a former assistant linebackers coach. I also think he's defensive quality control.
I mean, that's just not,
Okay, usually those guys are really quality control, and they're giving the assistant linebackers coach tag to help the guy make more money. That was what Doug Peterson was internally famous for.
Right.
Sirianni, I don't know. I mean, he's 26 years old. He hasn't been in the NFL for very long. This is his fourth year. I'm stunned by this. I just don't. I'm taking Jonathan Gannon at his word. It's his call. That he must be an upcoming coach you think is really good, because why else would you do something like this? It makes no sense.
Was there? I thought there was not crossover between Gannon and.
Well, I don't understand the. If there's not, then okay, if you're saying that it's not,
I could be wrong.
Why would you do it? That's what I'm asking. I just don't understand it.
I really don't know. It does not make a lot of sense to me. And on top of what we were mentioning at the position, they bring in the Jets D-backs coach. His name is Denard Wilson.
Yep.
Denard Wilson. Obviously, he's came well recommended, as you said in the last pod. Now, you had a guy, though, in Marquand Manuel, who was a defensive coordinator. Remember, you had 3 defensive coordinators on your defensive staff. You had Manuel. You had Matt Burke. And Ken Flajole was actually a defensive coordinator at one time. So that's a lot of experience. We could argue about how good any one of them single one individually, but that's good experience there. And now you've got a first-time defensive coordinator. You got a defensive line coach who comes from the college ranks. You have a linebackers coach who's never been a position coach before. He's always been an assistant and quality control. And you've got the defensive backs coach that you basically traded for because Marquand Manuel went to the Jets.
Crazy, yeah.
Is there a player to be named later in that trade?
Right. Rocker has
really swapped.
I know. Rocker did coach with the Titans. That's how he knows Gannon. But
right, I meant he's not been a coordinator, right? My fault.
Yeah, right. But Rocker has worked in the National Football League before. But
true.
Here's the thing, though. They gotta hire a senior defensive assistant. They have to. They have to do this. I'm not suggesting that the front office should get involved, but I'm hoping they suggested it to him. Because that's what Roseman did in the 16 hiring. He didn't say you have to hire this guy. He would make suggestions, and then Peterson would either interview him or he wouldn't. He interviewed these guys. They retained guys. Howie gave him a list of guys that he'd heard about or he was contacted about. Other coaches on the staff over the years, as we've outlined on our show over 3 years, were these guys recommended to Doug. He'd interview them, and he'd decide whether he wanted to hire him or not. But some of those guys worked out. Majority of them did. Some did not, as you mentioned, Gunter Brewer and a couple other guys. But this staff, I know that Gannon's immensely talented. You and I know how that he's super gifted. But you know what? He's never coached a game before as a coordinator. He's never called a defense before. Well, don't you, because of that, wouldn't you strongly suggest, if you're Nick Sirianni, hey, John, let's get you a senior defensive assistant. Let's get a former head coach. Let's get a former defensive coordinator. Like this guy, like the former D-line coach, you know?
Burke, yes.
Yeah, Matt Burke. Why? I just don't get that.
It's funny because in his introductory press conference, Nick Sirianni mentioned his familiarity with the area, right? Okay. He said he knew, I think, the King of Prussia area pretty well. And he said he went to St. Joe's Prep, and he said he went to he said he visited CB West a lot, which is the high school that Mike Pettin used to coach at.
There you go. Maybe he knows him.
I don't know. Coach. Yeah, maybe. But I mean, you would think because he said he was there, he was at the school. I don't know what the years.
I mean, I do think, I my sense is that Pettin, if you go, I don't know that he's coaching this year, but from what I understand, the Bears are very interested in him as a senior defensive assistant amongst a couple teams, and we'll see what he does. But my sense is
more of a 3-4 guy too, right?
That's it. That's why I don't think he would come here, even if they inquired. If he's going to go anywhere, he's going to stay with the 3-4. You make a great point, and that's why my friend Brad Biggs had said he actually put it Pettin and Sutton in his report that those would be two guys that made sense, and I believe it makes sense to me. I think there's a pretty good chance Pettin, if he does coach this year, that would be where he would go, but we'll see. And then there's got to be somebody out there that he can get. I just think this is a mistake if you're not going to get Matt Burke, get somebody who's been a defensive coordinator who's older. He doesn't have to be 60. It's at least somebody in their 40s, for goodness sake. Anyway,
what's Jeff Fisher doing these days?
He's around 60-ish. Yeah. You know what? What?
I'd bring him in. Yeah.
I was sure as hell would.
Absolutely.
I mean, who cares if he's Mr. 8 and 8? Jeff, you're not listening, so you're not going to hear that.
There you go.
I like Fisher. I got no problem with it. By the way, he tells an unbelievable story. I barely know the guy, but I was having beers at the Combine years ago, and we were talking, and I'll never forget it when he told it was either going to be him or Kotite to be the Eagles head coach.
Right.
And he doesn't get the job, so he goes.
God, what a mistake that was!
And he goes out to L.A. and becomes John Robinson's defensive coordinator. And Geoff was probably in his early 30s then. Yeah, it's a really interesting story. Wow, that was He would be great. You make a great point. That would be. I would love that. That's the kind of guy you need to help. And by the way, he could be someone to for Sirianni to lean on as a guy who's been. By the way, you could say what you want about Jeff Fisher. I've had my criticisms of him, but the players generally love the guy.
Yeah, we're just talking about a senior defensive assistant, not a play caller. I mean, exactly. It seems like every team is trying to get. Well, the Jaguars, I think, are going to bring in who's the old man that they're bringing in? Bob Sutton, right? Yeah. Bob Sutton, who was the Chiefs' defensive coordinator before Spags got there, and as you mentioned, Pettin may go to Chicago or somewhere else in that kind of a role. I mean, it's and not only that, I think this team could use it on offense too. We talked about that, and we.
Oh yeah. I've heard it pretty reliably that that Sirianni is looking at a kind of guy that we're talking about, a former head coach or a former coordinator, older guy. Look, it could be someone like Ken Wisenhunt, someone like that. We mentioned him before. I'm not saying it will be, but someone like that, someone of that type.
Sure.
Jim Caldwell. Yeah, Caldwell. Who else?
Jim Caldwell. I will take Jim Caldwell any
all
day of the week.
All day. Yeah. Jim
day.
Caldwell. I remember talking to Flacco about him. God, years ago, whenever Jim was there before he took the Lions head coaching job, he just said he really spoke highly of him.
Yeah,
great with quarterbacks, great demeanor, very successful head coach. Did a great job with the Colts. Did a very good job considering all the challenges in Detroit. Good man. Wisenhunt also is, he's had some success. He's been fired a bunch of times, but he's had some success. Anyone, just give me somebody who's done it before.
All right, I'm going to throw a name at you since you said anybody, and then see your reaction.
All right,
Adam Gase.
No.
No. Okay. So not anybody.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to. See, I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to burn me. I knew it. Well, actually, you know what?
Hey, man, he's a smart guy.
I'm not a fan of his, but I'll say this. But here's the problem. If Wentz is still on the roster, you worry about the lack of development with Darnold. That's the problem. Now Gase can coach hard. Mm-hmm. But now that he doesn't have to be an NFL head coach, that's not the worst name. He's had some success. He's been a 2-time head coach.
Right.
You know what? It's not the worst one, but I'll take any of those guys. Just give me somebody who could help a young head coach and also could help develop, be a voice of reason. Like Frank Reich, if he did nothing else, was so good with Wentz. Big picture, guy he could confide in, a good resource for Doug Peterson. Yeah, that's you and I see it the same way.
Yeah. By the way, did Brian Schottenheimer get a job since
I
departure?
I think NFL Network reported that he's going to the Jaguars. Maybe that's all right.
Really?
Yeah, I think he did, and he would have been. Oh my God, he would have been phenomenal. Sure. Actually, I would have liked him. No offense to Kevin Patullo. I mean, whoever who's the quarterback's coach?
It's the quarterback's coach is Brian Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. Yeah. No offense to him, but Brian Schottenheimer was brought in specifically to the Seahawks to rough up Russell Wilson. What does that mean? Coach him hard is the term. Right. Okay, and he did. He did a phenomenal job. He had a major philosophical difference with Pete Carroll. What do you think it would be? Take a guess.
Running versus passing.
Right. Nailed it. And by the way, he was not fired. I was told very strong source he was not fired. This is the way it was, man. It's just the way it is.
All right, a parting of ways, as they call it.
Yeah, they couldn't agree.
In smaller news, I don't know. I mean, this could be big news because of the Eagles' history of injuries, but losing strength and conditioning coach Josh Hingst to Minnesota, same title. He's going to be.
That was odd. Yeah, the only difference is it's like he was strength and conditioning coach. That's the way he was listed on the website for the Eagles. Now he's head strength and conditioning coach. I don't know if he gets more money for that. Okay. Maybe he got more money. I don't know, but that was a little bit surprising that he left this late. Yeah, I didn't understand that. But anyway.
All right, so let's move over to the offense and talk about. Actually, first, let me remind everybody to get that 20% off and free shipping using the promo code ITB at manscaped.com for all of your below-the-waist male grooming, along with that wonderful cologne scent that we've been talking about. Get it all at manscaped.com. Use the promo code ITB. Get 20% off and free shipping when you do. All right, we'll go back to the coaches here. Running back coach, you said you had something on.
Yeah, so I am told that they interviewed Stan Drayton, who's the University of Texas running backs coach. Maybe there are other running back names out there that they've interviewed. I'm not aware of them. Happy to give those people credit, whoever's reporting, but I just haven't seen it. Not that I'm really looking much, but anyway, it wasn't brought up to me, anyone else. So I know they talked to him. Drayton has talked to other teams, but he just apparently recruited a big time running back. So here's the thing: he's making $650,000, Geoff, a year, the college
just
level.
Like me, just like us.
Exactly. right. Couple zeros added. Here's the thing: if you're Stan Drayton, I don't think he's getting $500,000 here or anywhere in the NFL. I just don't see it.
You would have to really want to be in the NFL and
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know his agent. I don't know him personally. So I don't know what his thought process is, but I know he just reeled in on Tuesday night. He reeled in a big time running back recruit, a super high recruited running back. So I just know he makes a lot of money, and you just nailed it why he shouldn't be leaving. But I'm not him. I don't know him. So I just know that multiple teams interviewed him, and the Eagles were one of them.
Well, I find this to be the same situation as the linebackers coach, where you had an opportunity. Theoretically, you and I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but theoretically, you had an opportunity to keep Matt Burke as your linebackers coach. And with running backs coach, okay, so Deuce Staley's gone. The era is over. You let him go. He goes to Detroit. Don't forget that, we talk about him as the assistant head coach, the great job with a capital G that I think he did, at least personally, with the running backs development throughout the years. Whether it's
Phenomenal.
Josh Adams,
Phenomenal.
Smallwood. Of course there've been good ones who are naturally talented, but he did really good. Corey Clement being a 100-yard receiver in the Super Bowl. He did a phenomenal job. That's not going to be easy to replicate for whoever has to step into that job.
It won't be, yeah. And I don't know. I didn't even look up his background. I know he's been around a while, and he's a good college running backs coach. But it's to me, this is the only position that they need in terms of coaches,
right?
And this is an important job because you got to continue to develop Miles Sanders. You need someone who's got some presence who could get through to the play caller, which is the head coach. Hey, listen, we need to get him involved in the pass game as well. Where, boy, did Peterson screw up last year, not getting him in the pass game. Peterson, he did not have a good year, and a lot of his play calling, and we know about happening to the quarterback. That's even worse. But in terms of coaching, but running back position was not coached well in terms of play calling, and that's all on the head coach who's the play caller.
Yeah, that is one thing that I'm very excited to see if Nick Sirianni can tap into, because again, we've talked about Jalen Reagor. But if you just listen to the words, he said, I really want to get the ball in the hands of my fastest and most dynamic players within 5 to 10 yards of scrimmage. And he was speaking about the passing game and getting them those quick hitters. Certainly, that's an area where Miles Sanders can develop and excel as well. Anything else on the coaches, or do I think? Oh, they're losing Dino Vasso, right? I believe he took a job. He was
with the Texans as their DBs coach. How about that one, huh?
How about that? Good for him. Good.
Yeah,
Good
wow.
Story.
He got a Doug Peterson promotion he had his he got that strange title last year, which was assistant coordinator defense. Okay, I guess
Love these titles.
Yeah, so he went from being a low-level assistant to having this fancy title. Now he's a position coach with the Texans. Good for him, man. It's cool. So
yeah, absolutely. Andrew Briner. We didn't talk about him.
Yeah, I'm told that he's unlikely to return.
Man, 1 year wonder. Well, I don't know if it was a wonder, but it was 1 year. This guy was. It's not that I'm surprised, because I guess Kevin Petullo was really brought in to do the same job that Andrew Briner supposedly did last year, being a pass game guy and bring in spread concepts and things like that. I'm guessing that Nick felt that he already had those kind of guys with him that he brought.
That I'm not sure. I don't even know. To be honest with you, I have no idea what Briner was doing other than he did research. Well, Petullo's doing way more in research.
Right.
So Petullo's heavily involved. He's going to be heavily involved. That's the right-hand man of the head coach. That's why he's here.
That's true. Petullo is more like what Press Taylor did last year.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. So that's that. Yeah. So I was told not expected to be retained. So he's looking for work. We know Brian Johnson. Okay. let's run through this.
Real quick, did Press get that job in Indianapolis? I didn't know if it was official yet.
I know Albert Breer reported it, but I did not. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I would think senior offensive assistant if he got it. That was my sense. Mm-hmm. Looking at what they needed, that would make the most sense because
not pass game specialist,
or either or, but it doesn't mean I know some senior assistants are actually have pretty significant roles. Okay. So as you and I've said for 3 years on the show, titles mean nothing. It's all about what they actually do.
Exactly.
Especially on the personnel staff. But anyway. So no. Hey, not taking shots at anyone. We love the titles with this team. It's never. You got to get like translator on what that actually means. Some of these jobs. Anyway.
Like they had 5 college scouting directors at one time.
Right. Oh my God. I got someone got mad at me for the regular one. I must have said something derogatory. I was making fun of them just like you did. And I heard it from somebody. No, you don't understand. That's not really what it means. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, that's not their job.
Thank you for
exactly. I wasn't
validating what I'm saying.
Right. I wasn't really criticizing anyone. I just find it funny, as you just said. What team has 5 different kind of scouting directors, but that's not really what they do?
Right.
Anyway.
By the way, this is also the same team that had. Alec Hallaby was the director of football operations, and then they hired Andrew Berry, and they made him director of football or executive vice president of football operations, I should say. And then that was the same title Hallaby had.
Is he still in a bunker?
Andrew Berry left,
no, I'm just kidding.
When Andrew Berry left, Hallaby just had the title back again.
Well, it's interesting. When Chip Kelly had him removed, remember I think he put him on the other side of the building. Poor guy.
I thought that was Howie.
Well, yeah, but no, they all were. If you remember,
I know. The whole staff was
nice guy, but oh well. Hey, he's supposedly good at what he does. So anyway,
we'll move on. All right. So what you said? One last thing on Brian Johnson, or you wanted to go through the?
No. So it's Brian Johnson, running backs. We just said Stan Drayton was interviewed, still at Texas. Right. Moorhead. So you had reported earlier this week. Aaron Moorhead is the receivers coach, correct?
He's staying.
Okay.
My understanding, he's staying. Wide receivers coach. Yep.
Jason Michael. Here's what I can tell you. Jason Michael is their tight ends coach, but I'm told that Sirianni, before he had hired Michael, he was eyeing a D1 college coach, college tight ends coach, but that guy's staying at his school. So that's that.
What was the name of the Phillies outfielder that was really buddy with Pat Burrell during those days? Wasn't it Jason Michael?
Oh yeah.
Jason,
it was right.
It was something. It was Jason Michael, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Sure. He was a utility guy, Jason Michael, wasn't he?
He was like Pat Burrell's wingman, basically.
Okay, yeah. Stoutland staying.
That's a full-time job, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know. I hear you. Stoutland's retained, and I believe Roy Istvan, I don't know how you say Istvan. I believe he's staying. That's the word I received. That was one of the few assistant position coaches that will probably stay. I heard Sirianni was leaning towards keeping him. And remember, that was Stoutland's guy that he hired. Yeah. Geoff, I heard pretty strongly that's his guy that he brought him in. So that would make sense.
Right. Cool. All right, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code ITB to get all of your sign-up bonuses. That's a promo code of ITB to get all of your sign-up bonuses at the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. So let's close this out with a little Senior Bowl talk because we promised some people we would look into, the Senior Bowl. We know the Eagles were out there. Oh, by the way, I was told that for scouts at the Senior Bowl, Adam, that and I'm sure people have read this. They did a really good job of COVID protocols. I don't think they had any positive. It was one. That's right.
One. Yeah. Right? Unbelievable. Great job. Right. Yeah.
I was told that the access that the scouts had to the players was pretty much the same. That there was nothing like it wasn't just Zoom interviews or you couldn't speak to the guys. So the scouting process went thoroughly as it normally would.
Right. So yes, but teams cannot have the same contingent. So they were only at 10 people per team.
Right.
4 people in the interview room, which is different because as we were outlining a couple weeks ago, as you well know, because you've been to Senior Bowl. You could go up the escalator at the Senior Bowl in the player hotel. And I'm not joking. Right in front of you, you'll see the Patriots interviewing a center from
Very odd. Yeah.
Like right in front of you. And you could actually hear the questions. It's
very strange.
Yeah. And it's great. The access that we would get as the media is just phenomenal. Whether it's my friend Phil Savage doing it or Jim Nagy who just phenomenal. And I cannot wait to go. I'm going back next year. I don't care what happens. I'm going. I'm not missing.
I'm with you. We'll be there. Inside the Birds.
I wear
on
5
location.
masks.
Even if there's no COVID, I would recommend that you might want to wear a mask.
Excuse my language, but I'm so mad at myself for not going, because I talked to some friends who were there, and I know that very few media people were there, but there were enough to make me pissed off that I wasn't there. So anyway.
Yeah, I felt the longing. I wanted to be there as well. But hey, man, next year we're going to blow it out. We'll do a big ITB expedition. We'll do live shows from there. We'll have.
It's all about networking too. Yeah, it's all about, as you know, it's about networking.
That's right. Okay, so why don't we talk about a few things that we learned from the Senior Bowl? You can go ahead. I know you said wide receiver was.
And look, we just to finish the coaching out, we went over the offense. Defensively, there's nothing new. You meant defensive quality control. I'm sure they have somebody in. The senior defensive assistant, we just talked about that they should do something there. No one else. We've mentioned Burke. That's it, man. That's it. So, all right, Senior Bowl. So the quarterbacks were mostly a disaster. When I say a disaster, none of them really stood out, other than Mac Jones. He did turn his ankle sometime during the week. He didn't play in the game. But here's what you love about Mac Jones: so accurate, so under control. But he's got one issue. He cannot drive the ball downfield. This is from multiple people I really respect, including a NFL general manager, whose team I don't know that they might be involved with quarterback. We'll have to see. But Jones was on the Panthers squad. The Dolphins and Panthers coaches are coaching, and the Panthers had him. And he just look. You never say never. I'm not saying he won't go in the first round. But the guys I respect, one team told me they got a mid-second. Another team told me they got a little bit down and maybe even later than that. Now, could he go in the first? Absolutely. It only takes one team. I learned with Tim Tebow, you never say never.
Right.
I mean, look, you don't know what teams are thinking sometimes.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, nowadays teams are kind of building their offenses around the type of quarterbacks they get. You can build an offense around a quarterback who doesn't have the greatest arm if he's got great accuracy, I mean, the Jets did that with Chad Pennington 20 years ago, right? I mean,
and if he never blew that's a great point. If he never blew his shoulder out, he would have been really good. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And they put some guys around him who could get off the line of scrimmage quick and catch it like Santana Moss. I believe that was Pennington's. So you can do it. But of course, usually you're right. In top 10,
they want arms, 15, right? I mean, you want arms.
Want everything.
You want arms. Kyle Trask the Florida quarterback did not work because of the ankle injury that he had. I think prior. I didn't get the guys that I spoke with that I trust were kind of underwhelmed by the quarterbacks there, but they seem to agree that Mac Jones is really solid. Like, look, his bowl game was ridiculous, but the thing that you learn is with college quarterbacks, you have to grade throws, not numbers. You have to grade what the tape shows you, not just accuracy. How much was he under duress or not? I've used the Matt Leinart example. Matt Leinart was a phenomenal college quarterback, but very hard to find throws where he was under pressure.
Right.
And it showed. He couldn't drive the ball downfield. He was accurate, but he was never under pressure. Really, literally never under pressure. If you looked at his tape, you're like, man, has he ever had to make a tough throw? Well, that means something. Because you got to transfer that to the next level. How will he react under pressure? Because he's not a very mobile quarterback. And you saw he was the disappointment, to say the least.
So do you think you said it all takes is one, but have you talked to some teams about where they kind of have him on a board? I
haven't, because we're not doing our draft coverage until probably after free agency. So I haven't really gotten into that. But I just happen I want to talk to some guys that were there. And, a couple guys told me that, man, he was really solid, looks the part, but he just doesn't drive it downfield. And that's what the tape shows, too.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see about that. How about receivers? You said you had some.
Now, I'm sure, a lot of our listeners love the draft, so they already know who Dwayne Eskridge is. Well, they would know about him only because if you either followed Western Michigan, or if really followed the draft, you might know about him. But even if you didn't know about him, you now know about him now. He was phenomenal. By far, not only was he the best receiver on the field of both teams, arguably the best offensive player during the week. He was coached by the Dolphins, by the way. Now, he's not real big. He measured 5'9" and 1/10 and 188. Now, the funny thing about measurements is, because we're not going to have measurements at the combine, they're going to be done at the pro day.
Right.
a lot of players measured differently than they would be measured at the combine. It sounds ridiculous, but I remember some players being a half an inch off from the measurements at the Senior Bowl.
Well, these kids are still growing.
I know it's comical. No, but it just happens. The way it's just different, weird. But here's the issue with Eskridge. You got to ask yourself this. He's not real big. He's 5'9" and 110. He runs very well. He played at Western Michigan, where Greg Jennings went there.
Western Michigan. That's not where
Corey Davis went.
Corey Davis, he went there too, right?
Yeah.
What about Antonio Brown? I always get confused.
Central. I think he went to Central.
He was Central Michigan, right?
The Chippewas. Yes, the Chippewas.
Gotcha.
At least they were when I was at Ohio U. But he was phenomenal. And what one guy told me, he goes, he looked like a guy who knew he just had to show out to get the scouts noticed, to notice him. And he was phenomenal. He never let up. Energy, passion, route running, explosion, run after the catch. Phenomenal. He was just incredible. And you knew it. You knew leaving there, like, okay. And you got to be careful when you see this stuff because it's mostly wrong when you say God moved up 3 rounds because it just doesn't happen. Right. But he definitely went up a round. I mean, he was phenomenal. Everyone I talked to said, "Oh my God, this kid was awesome." Who cares that he went to Western Michigan? He blew out every corner that was there. So
nice. All right, interesting. I mean, wide receiver is a position that you think that the Eagles can still add to. I mean, they're Alshon will be gone, and
well, here's the question with Rager. Rager's either their Z or their slot. I still think they need to upgrade over Greg Ward. He's just not fast enough, not explosive enough.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you could always upgrade.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Depending how they have the LSU receiver, we don't know it's too early to know how high they are on him.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say they went with the LSU receiver because he's got good size and he's a true X. I'm not opposed to moving Rager to mostly the slot. I'm just not because he's so dynamic. He can still play Z. You can move him to Z, but he could be so incredible as a vertical slot.
Yeah, I guess he could. I mean, listen. If you want Fulgham to be your X, if you still believe in him, or
that's another question,
or if you draft Jamar Chase or somebody like that,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think you can move. I like move Z better than X, but better than slot. But I'm fine. As long as he's playing 75, 100% of the game, then yeah.
Okay. My issue with Fulgham is this: I know the kid's gifted. I mean, those 4 games, no one could handle the guy. No one could cover him. And then he seemed to wilt a little bit when I know he kept the job when Jeffrey got back, but you start to see him lose his playing time, and he just never was a factor. How does that happen? We can blame coaches all we want, but the kid's got to take some responsibility for it. You can't fault like that.
I haven't seen an emergence and then a disappearance like that since Bryce Brown, homie. That's what we're talking about.
Was Bryce Brown that good though?
Oh my God! Do you remember those 2 games? I mean,
was one against Seattle?
Travis Fulgham had 4 games. Yeah. No, it was against Tampa and Houston, something like that. I forget.
Yeah, but Bryce Brown would try to break everything outside. You remember? He was so annoying.
Yeah, but the bottom line is he had 2 games where he had 350 yards. Maybe
did he? Wow. Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it. I don't feel like
remember the Bryce Brown sensation?
No, but this kid's tape is so phenomenal of Fulgham's.
Yes.
It's just
I do agree. It showed
bizarre, man. But we have pretty good sourcing on this thing. Why he folded, but when we say folded, he lost his role.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen. There were a variety of factors, but man. With Aaron Moorhead coming back, he's got to reach this kid.
Yeah.
And they also have to rebuild that room. We outlined it, folks. If you haven't heard our Monday show or last Friday show, we outlined we outlined what they need to do with that receiver room. It needs to be rebuilt is what they need to do.
By the way, Brown had 178 rushing yards and then 169 rushing yards in back-to-back weeks.
Holy smokes.
Against Carolina and Dallas in
what year?
2012. Yeah.
12. Wow. 8 years.
2012.
9 years. Smokes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So that was pretty impressive right there.
He's explosive as hell, but he's another guy that I just remember that he just didn't have it. And he everything was trying. He thought he's back in college. Where did he go to Auburn? Maybe Is it Auburn?
No, Kansas State.
Kansas
I think
State,
he first went to Auburn.
Okay.
He got into something there. I forget.
Yeah,
And then or no, maybe it was to be closer to his brother, who was a linebacker.
Arthur Brown, of the Ravens.
Yeah. So then he finished up at Kansas State, I believe. It was either, I'm pretty sure. No, you know what? I'm sorry. Now I remember it very well. He was the #1 high school recruit in the country. I believe he verbal to Tennessee.
Okay.
And I think he either went there and left or backed out originally and ended up at Kansas State. So that is the that's the lowdown on Bryce Brown.
All right, one more. Desmond Fitzpatrick from Louisville. Now, he had a great game. It was like 6 for 90. Coached by the Dolphins. The good thing is he measured well, 6'2" and 1/8", 202. Great Senior Bowl game. Practice is very good. Scouting source told me does not play anywhere to that level on tape. Very inconsistent. Doesn't always play as physical or run after the catch. You really have to, the source said, you really have to go back to his tape and try to match it up to the Senior Bowl practices and the game just to see if you got to figure out who he is as a receiver. You really have to do some digging because he really showed out. And you don't want to overrate 3 practices in a game because that's not his whole career, obviously, but he put together a great week, so you got to figure it out.
Yeah. I'll end it with this. I was kind of taken by the story of the kid from Wisconsin, Whitewater. His name was Quinn Minars. I don't know if you had saw about that, but he was playing center and really holding his. Whenever a small school guy at the Senior Bowl does this, it gets a lot. You remember Ali Marpet from Hobart?
Yeah.
He stamped himself at the Ali Marpet, right at the Senior Bowl.
He's great.
And that's what this kid was doing. And then he broke his hand at him. And then he begged the coaches to keep letting him play. He wanted to play in the game, even though he broke his hand. So he became like this model of, that's the type of offensive lineman you want: tough, nasty, willing to play through injuries. But he did a really good job at center, even though scouting source told me he had not played center. He was a guard all year at his career at Wisconsin Whitewater. And once he showed he could play center and play it pretty well and hold up against all the big time guys. He went from a guy who was viewed as maybe 5 or 6 rounder to someone who can be talking about 3rd round, and we'll see if his stock continues to rise from that. But he was definitely the story. And I've been paying attention to centers anyway, just because we don't know what's going to happen.
What else do you know? Yeah, what else do you know about center?
So the big one is Creed Humphrey, right? He's the one from Oklahoma, and he got a lot of accolade too. But the weird thing about Creed Humphrey, Adam, is I didn't know this. I never realized this. A, he's left-handed. And B, I guess left-handed snappers are like like right-handed first baseman in the major leagues or shortstops. You try not to get them. No, not shortstops. What is it? It's or like left-handed shortstops.
Yeah, there aren't any. Yeah,
there are not any. So I don't know how problematic that's going to be for the kid. He was, he's pretty good, and I think he's considered one of the better centers there. But the fact that he's left-handed might be a little bit of a no-no for him.
Wow. Well, he's going to have to change it, obviously.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder if he could just learn to snap with his right hand, even though his
left hand. That's a good question. We'll check on that when we get into our. We'll look that over when we get to our draft stuff. But all right. So for Friday's show, we hope we have hopefully the running back coach will have hired so we can put the coach in us. And I love these roster breakdown shows because I'm starting to get early intel on who might be back and not. And we're going to go over contracts too. I got all the contracts, so Beautiful. I got them this week, so we'll go over all of them, and it'll tell us a story about who's staying and who's going. We're going to start getting a little bit of an intel on, and then we'll go over the Wentz contract as well soon, because it's bad for the club to trade him, obviously because of the dead money on the cap, but folks, I learned this the hard way. Any contract's tradable, just a matter of how much pain you want to go through to do it. Simple as that.
Yep. Jared Goff, line 1. There you go.
$22 million in dead money. Not as onerous as the Wentz contract would be, but you know what? Sean McVay wanted him off the roster in the worst way, I was told. And he just soured on the guy. It's just unbelievable. It's incredible. And how about Les Snead, the GM? He got forced. He didn't even want to say it because he knew what was going on. Well, he's our starter for now.
Yeah. I mean, how about not making a first-round pick for like 7 straight years? That's amazing, too.
To do that is crazy. They're a win-now team, clearly. Stafford's an upgrade. I mean, he is.
Hey, look, they're going to be considered a favorite to be in the Super Bowl now.
Sure.
They should be with that defense and with their receivers, Offensive line could use a little upgrade, but I mean, they're going to be as good as anybody.
And with Stafford, you could run more your playbook because there's certain throws Goff cannot make, and Stafford's got a howitzer and got a great arm. He's tough as nails, and Goff gets out of there. He gets out of there from a team that didn't want him. And Brad Holmes, they're the OC, the GM of the the Lions, was the college director for the Rams, so he knows Goff, and they could get out of his contract easily after 1 year. That's it.
That's true. I was wondering if they would even flip him if they got a good offer.
I haven't heard that they would do that, but they could just walk and not owe him a dime. 50th day of free agency next year, they have to make a decision on his contract. He's got conversion of injury guarantees to full guarantees, so they'll do that, and that's that. But that was an amazing trade. I'd heard it was going down soon, like last Friday, but I had no idea Goff would be involved in it. Holy smokes, that blew me away.
That was very crazy.
Someone would take his contract. I was like, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I neglected to mention, and we don't always address reports unless they're from really credible sources, but the guy from Houston, Fox 26, I think his name is Mark Berman, had reported that the University of Houston's cornerbacks coach Jay Valai was leaving to take a job with the Eagles in their secondary.
He's great. Berman, I know Mark. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, Berman's good. So if he and Denard Wilson, I guess that will be coaching in the secondary.
I wonder, right now, a lot of, I looked into this. A lot of teams now, more than ever, split the responsibilities up. It's rare in today's NFL, not rare, but more often than not, teams are now splitting responsibilities. They're not giving one guy the safeties and corners. They don't want him coaching 15 guys.
Right.
So they'll split it. And then, Hal took safeties and Marquand took corners.
Right.
And Marquand was kind of responsible for the position anyway, but I would assume Wilson, because he's a veteran coach, he's really good. But we'll learn more about that. Yeah, we'll learn more about that.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Want to give a shout out to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads, and his Twitter account is @Broads81.
He's crazy. Watch these videos.
He's pretty nuts.
Insane into it. He goes out of his mind. It's really cool, man. I was watching the other, because I'm a diehard Sixer fan, and man, he was pumped up. That
he was
Pacer
very
game.
fired
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What a comeback!
I call it Broad's face, by the way. He makes that face like
he goes out of his mind.
Eyebrows knot and his lips get all curled.
He's sweating. Yeah.
He's also got about 15,000 follower YouTube subscriptions.
That's good, man. Needs a haircut though.
It's COVID. You got nobody seeing.
I know. It's all good.
All right. As of course, we always thank you, all of our friends listening here and overseas. We thank you for flying with us inside the bird.